Hey everyone, so after you have watched the video that I posted, the next thing that we're going to do is talk about measurement and what it is to measure something. So we've talked about this in class before. We know that when we measure something, sometimes we use something called a ruler, but we are not going to use a ruler. We're actually going to use lots of different kinds of units of measurement this week. We're using non-standard measurement. So let's go ahead and take a look at my anchor chart just so that we can go over some of the rules, okay? So it says measurement, and it says the unit of measurement is whatever it is that we're going to measure by or with. And today, Miss Geyer, usually we use the Unifix cubes, the ones that we stack together, the different colored ones. That's usually what we use in class, or paper clips. But because a lot of us don't have that at home, Miss Geyer thought that you guys probably have a crayon. So if you don't have a crayon, use pennies, and you can go ahead and go through and stack them to see how long something is. But I'm going to use a crayon for my measurement video today. And again, if you don't have a crayon, don't worry, you can use really anything. You're going to find out in a few minutes when I read this. So it says unit of measurement is whatever it is that we're going to use to measure by or with. And like I said, I'm going to use my crayon today. They must be the same size. So if I am using this crayon, can I use another broken crayon to help measure the length of how long maybe my arm is? So I would put this crayon and then my broken crayon. No, right? They all have to be the same length. So if your crayons are not the same length, then go ahead and use the pennies. We know that pennies are all the same length, or quarters, dimes, whatever it is that you have available. So, and I wrote, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be any of the things I just named. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa can help you with this. But like I said, I'm going to use a crayon for my video. So if you want to follow along with me, you could use a crayon too. The next thing that I'm going to go over are the rules for measuring length. So length is how long something is. So we are going to measure from tip to tip. So if we are measuring this line, we would go all the way down from the end of this tip all the way down to this tip at the end. And I would measure 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would go all the way down, right? The next one is start measuring from the same tip. So say I wanted to measure this line and this line to see which one was longer or shorter. I would start measuring here. So should I start measuring on the opposite side over here? No, I would go from the same side and I would measure tip to tip on the same side. And then one of the bigger things that we probably are going to talk more about tomorrow is don't overlap or stack the units. So if I am using, let me get my crayons real quick. Let's pretend that I am measuring this line. And like I said, so if I'm starting here, I cannot place this crayon on top of the crayon and keep measuring. It has to be right at the tip, and it would not be stacked on top of each other. They're like just touching. The other thing is I cannot leave any gaps. So I wouldn't leave a large gap between here and say, oh, look, that's 2 crayons long. No, they have to be touching tip to tip. And then I would keep going. And then one of the things that we always talk about when we talk about measurements is the quote. It's something that we always say. It says, don't overlap or leave a gap. So those are those 2 things are probably really important whenever we're measuring. But like I said, today we are not going to be measuring anything. We're just going to be seeing if we can find something that's shorter or longer or shorter than the unit that you choose to measure by. Again, I am going to use a crayon because it's what I have at my house right now. And like I said, if you don't have a crayon to use something else. So you're going to go on a scavenger hunt and you're going to find 3 things that are longer. Longer means we would say bigger, but the correct phrase is longer. So we're going to make sure that we use that vocabulary. And then the other side, we are going to find 3 things that is shorter. We know that that's smaller, right? Or less than. So I went ahead and I went on a scavenger hunt with my crayon and I tried to find 3 things that were longer. That means that they go bigger than my crayon. So I found a pair of scissors, and if I hold the scissors up, remember I line the tips up. So I would start here Now, which one's longer? My crayon or my scissors? The scissors, right? So I would write scissors on number 1. Then I went ahead and I found something else that was longer. So I'm going to lay this down, which is my glue. And I'm going to line my crayon up. And you'll notice that the crayon is not as long as the glue. So it is shorter, which means that my glue is longer. So I'm going to write glue. And then on the last one, I found one of my water bottles. And I lined up my crayon. And I found out that which one's longer? The water bottle, right? So I would put my water, sorry, my handwriting is not that great when I'm upside down. Water bottle. And then on the opposite side, I wrote 3 things that were shorter. So I went around looking for 3 things that were shorter than my crayon, which means that they were smaller, right? Smaller than my crayon. The first thing that I found was my dry eraser from my whiteboards. If I line them up, tip to tip, which one's longer? The crayon, right? So I would say my eraser, right? Eraser. And then I went ahead and I used one of my bingo cards from my class played Easter bingo last week. And I have one of my cards and I lined it up tip to tip. And which one's longer? My crayon. We know that the bingo card is shorter. So I'm going to put my bingo card . And then I found one more thing that was shorter. I found it in my pantry. It's a Fruit Loop. Which one is longer and which one is shorter? My crayon is longer, right? And my Fruit Loop is shorter. So I'm going to put Fruit Loop. And now I have found 3 things that are longer and 3 things that are shorter than my crayon. And that is it. That's all you have to do today. Go on a scavenger hunt and find 3 things that are longer and 3 things that are shorter. I hope that you guys enjoy this.